Hey, all right, here we are. T's Weird Week News. I'm T. Krulos.
And I'm Heidi Erickson.
Okay, exciting times. This episode, when we edit it together, is going to have the second part featuring our adventures at UFO Days.
Yeah.
We're still recovering from that one.
Yeah, it was a lot to take in. It's a lot of information.
But here's something cool. If you're listening and maybe you're new to the show, we also are involved with the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference. The whole T's Weird Week crew is working on that, as well as American Ghost Walks, and a ton of other really interesting, cool people are participating this year too. I'm really excited about it. It's happening the weekend of September 24th through the 26th this year. And we're having the main conference event is Saturday, September 25th. There is going to be a T's Weird Week live podcast panel, right? We'll have some guests there in person that we can talk to. And it's just going to be a super fun time. And what's really cool about the conference this year is we decided to make that main conference event be free. So people are going to be able to get a free ticket online. And that's it. You don't have to pay an admission fee. Because this year we just want, to have good attendance and allow everyone to have a good time. I know it's been a rough financial time for some people. So you'll be able to go to that for free. But here's what's also very cool. Sunday, September 26th, we're doing an activities day. And of course, one of the big events going on that day is the Witches Fair, which is going to go from 1 to 6 at Fakelandia Brewing.
I'm so excited.
Which, if you listen to this podcast, you know that we love Fakelandia. And it's a really good venue for an event like this.
Yeah, it is. There'll be tons of vendors there. There's going to be people doing tarot readings. There's going to be workshops for people who are interested in learning about how to do protection spells for your home. And there's one about pagan parenting. And we're going to be doing a ritual after the Witches Fair that is going to be happening too. Plus, it's at Falklandia, so you can get yummy beer and pizza, including their new beer that's coming out that I believe is called Superstition, which is brewed on the 13th of August. It was very important that it was brewed on Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th,
on Friday the 13th, and it will be ready and available on the day of the Witches Fair. So that's a beer premiere for T's Weird Weekend for the Paranormal Conference. It's just going to be all kinds of fun. It's like 17 or 8.
You froze up there. Sorry, you froze up for a second there, Heidi. So
my basement is haunted. Everybody knows that. Yes, my basement doesn't exist on the temporal plane, you guys. So if you're ever looking to get away, way away, just step into the basement. It's very exciting. The Paranormal Conference is going to be super rad. I encourage everybody to show up if you're into spooks, specters, Bigfoots, UFOs, conspiracy theories, alternate dimensions. Any of that fucking floats your boat, you should definitely make your way down to the Paracon. It's free, and there's stuff happening all weekend, and it's going to be super rad and fantastic.
Yeah. So the Witches Fair is really, I would say, the hub of the Sunday events. But there are going to be some other activities that people can do around the city. And that's slowly been falling into place, which is very exciting. So today I went to Forest Home Cemetery. Which is a big, beautiful cemetery here in Milwaukee. And it's got the graves of a lot of famous Milwaukeeans in it, including the beer barons, some of the founders of Harley Davidson. So far we got 2 events that are scheduled there for Sunday the 26th. The first one, this is fun, 10 a.m., yoga in the cemetery.
Love it.
That's going to be a good way for you to stretch out and get limber for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
That one, there is a cost. It costs $15,
Okay.
and it's for a 90-minute yoga session outdoors there in the graveyard. So, kind of a fun thing that we're offering this year.
Love
And
it.
then at 3 p.m., and by the way, these events both cost money and they're also very limited as far as how many people can go on it. So you're going to want to get those tickets early for these events. There's a 3 p.m. cemetery art and symbolism tour.
Ooh.
That one's going to be $10. And, that'll be a good afternoon break if you want to do that and go to the Witches Fair afterwards or beforehand.
Yeah.
But it's not a paranormal tour, I would say, but I think it's of interest to people who are interested
Yeah,
in
totally.
paranormal stuff. You'll be able to decipher what certain gravestones mean
Yeah.
in some of
It's a
the
whole
symbolism
language.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then last thing I'll mention right now is our friend Kelly Teague, who Heidi interviewed for
I love
episode
her.
4 of this season.
She's
Um,
wonderful.
she does a thing called the Pop-Up Death Cafe,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
And I'm not 100% sure that's going to be at Forest Home Cemetery. It possibly is, but it's going to happen somewhere.
Yeah.
So, really glad that we can involve that in the conference this year. I guess in a nutshell, the group is a chance for people to speak freely and openly about death. Well, you talked to her about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fantastic because people, I mean, like Kelly is a death professional. She's actually a funeral director and she's a licensed death midwife as well. But the people who come to those pop-up death cafes, they ask all kinds of things. They ask things about the afterlife. They ask things about people's like spiritual tradition. They ask whether or not you shit your pants when you die. Like it's every manner of question. And it's just really fascinating stuff. And you get to discuss it with somebody who actually knows, I mean, she knows as much about death as anybody does, I suppose, and to talk to other people about it. Because it's not a topic that people are like, you don't go out to brunch and are like, hey, how's the weather? How's your mom? Do you know if you shit your pants when you die? Like, it's just not a conversation. So this is a
Yeah.
place where you can have that conversation. And I think it'll be awesome. Plus, Kelly will be leading it and she's the raddest. Absolutely adore her. So that'll be good.
Yeah. So that's what we got confirmed. There's a couple other things that are going to happen on Activity Day, September
Yeah.
26th. I haven't quite squared up all the details on them yet, but I can say we're working on a poetry event. There's going to be an author appearance and a documentary or a film
Sure.
screening of some sort. Those
Yeah.
are going to be thrown into the mix of the day as well, but I just need to square out some solid details on a couple of
Yeah.
those things.
All kinds of things bubbling and brewing, you guys. It's going to be super good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. It's going to be a really fun weekend.
Yep.
And like we said, we're going to be there too, doing the Tease Weird Week thing.
Yeah, we sure are. We're doing all kinds of stuff this summer, bud. We're
Yeah.
going to UFO days. We're putting together a paranormal conference. We're talking about going to Whitewater. That's going to be super fun and good. Holy macaroni and cheese. We're trying to get our first ghost hunt going. You guys, I know you guys, if you've been listening to the show, you've been hearing us talk about this for forever. Our sound tech, Andrew, is especially excited about going to go and do a ghost hunt finally. It's his favoriteest thing. So that's going to be pretty rad. And I really hope that you guys tune in for that because I personally think that the Tease Weird Week crew is going to be the best ghost hunting crew ever. First of all, I have better tits than anybody currently famous on the ghost hunting scene. I'm just going to say that right now. It's a fact. I'm not bragging. These are facts. Also, like, we're pretty fun. I think we have a really good balance of believing, like having a certain level of belief in this and having a certain level of like, we're hunting for ghosts now is what we're doing. Like, I think the way that the UFO festival was, that kind of blend of dead seriousness and also like, haha, look at my tinfoil hat. Like there's a certain Wisconsin joie de vivre that only Wisconsinites can bring to the weird and unusual. And I think we're just going to do a great job of it. I'm very, very excited for us. I'm excited for you guys to watch.
Me too. And I hope we do, multiple ones, but especially we're trying to set something up for the evening of September 25th after the conference.
Oh,
There's
that's
going to
right.
be some other investigation teams that are doing stuff at different locations, but we are going to roll with our own investigation crew,
It's going to be
which
so
is
fun.
going to be me, you, Andrew, Misinformation, and
Yeah.
some other interesting characters.
Yeah. It's gonna be a laugh riot. I want to do a ritual for us before we go, like a little situation that'll keep any like nasty ghoulies from following us back to hopefully to the new studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, also to open our eyes to open the veil so that we can see more things. Nobody's allowed to run away screaming. If we see a giant scary librarian come bursting out of the books, we're not running. No running. No running in baseball. No, wait. We
We're
do
not going
running.
to do it like on Ghost Adventures where we're like,
No.
bro.
Oh, bro, oh, no, that's not how hunting works. If you run away from something that you're looking for when you find it, that's not hunting. That's a totally different activity that you're doing. You guys, what the fuck? No, we're staying together. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fine. You guys are into that. I don't know. Are we gonna broadcast that live or are we gonna record it and then put it up?
The investigation.
Yeah.
I would say both. Maybe.
Yeah.
We could do a
Yeah.
live stream and then we can kind of cut like the best of
Right.
cut of what we hear. Maybe we'll get some ghostly whispers in the dark. That would be some good
That's
audio.
I feel like the Tees Weird Week friends and family are going to do a really good job of like being like, T, like there's a guy behind you, I think that's really important. And also, of course, like if we don't have Shane dropping commentary, did we even really do a show? Like it's gonna have to be in there someplace for sure. Ah, such fun. Such fun. It's gonna be better than Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, we
Mm-hmm.
haven't even got to the news yet. We're just so busy talking about how much fun we're gonna have. Lords. Lord.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into the news then.
Let's
You found a
do it.
very interesting story about an ancient language known as Klingon.
I love this story so much, you guys. Okay, so there's this adorable little man from Wales. I don't know if you know any Welsh people. Welsh people are all amazing. They're the best. They're like Scottish people, but even weirder, if you can fathom that idea. The guy's name is Alex Green. He's just this guy who's in IT, and he's this adorable little Welshman who's been practicing Klingon since he was a little kid. And due to his like constant practice of Klingon, he's now fluent in it. And he got Wales, the country Wales, to be officially recognized as a like part of the Klingon Empire. Fun fact. Fun fact. Apparently, all the other UK nations were already recognized as part of the Klingon Empire. And once again, Wales got the short end of the stick, and Alex was like, I don't freaking think so. So he went and took care of that. What I found out about this that is extra fantastically wonderful is Wales now has a proper French name, which I cannot pronounce because it's in Klingon, and that's not how I work. Although if you've ever heard anyone speak Klingon, it does vastly resemble Welsh. It does resemble Klingon, so that makes sense to me. But I can't speak Welsh either, so that's fine. They were officially made part of this by the Klingon Language Institute, which is a real place. They are the authority on the Klingon language, and they work with Dr. Mark Orkland. Dr. Mark Orkland is the guy. He's an American linguist and musician. I guess he has a doctorate in like musical theory. He wrote the Klingon language. He also wrote the Vulcan language. And like he wrote this years ago because before those characters existed on Star Trek, they were just characters. They didn't have a whole ass language. This guy, Mark Opland, wrote the whole ass language. So that's an institute that you can go to and be certified as a linguist in Klingon. Our friend Alex wrote a beautiful poem in Klingon that he performed to music that was created by the Large Hadron Collider.
Wow.
I know.
That,
I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't know what it sounds like, but I very much want to know what that sounds like. It was performed in Klingon and premiered at the Bangor Music Festival alongside a piece of music created with the Large Hadron Collider. He has also translated this poem, which is called Space is Fierce, into
Nice.
English and Welsh. So you can hear that poem if you'd like. It's all about if you go out and do brave works, if you go out and die in battle in space, will anyone remember you where you came from? I can't wait to hear this poem. I really want to. He is now the unofficial Welsh ambassador to the Klingon Empire.
Nice.
I know.
Good work if you can find it.
Right? Good job, Alex. Way to make it happen. So we're gonna have to find that piece of poetry, obviously. I really want to know, is there any other pieces of music that were made by the Large Hadron Collider? That's wild. I didn't
know it was possible. Right.
Right. The Large Hadron Collider's whole job is to take little tiny things and smash them into other little tiny things at great velocity in a vacuum. And
right.
Try not to explode the universe. Because remember, there's that theory that says that the world actually did end in 2012 because that was the first time they switched on the Super Large Hadron Collider. And then they switched it on and everything went wonky. And now we're all living in sub-universe B. Right? Remember that?
Right, because the original Earth got sucked into a black hole.
Right. We collapsed. We collapsed to singularity, destroyed the original Earth. And now they say, and I love this is a running joke between my friends and I, is that there's people who we interact with every day who are leftovers from universe A. And then there's people who are people from universe B who have no idea. That's where the whole Berenstain Bears Mandela effect situation comes from. Yes. And apparently also some very moving Klingon poetry. Versatile. So that's a thing.
Wow.
I know. That's great. I love that story because it's a happy story, but at the same time, you're like, wow, that's what else happened this week, T? What's going on?
Okay, well, I got kind of a two-part story here, I would say. The first, yeah. The first one is, on this podcast before, we've talked about QAnon because they're just, a bottomless well of crazy, weird, stupid stories.
Yep.
And here's a good example. Just today, Wendy posted in the Tues Weird Week Facebook group, which I recommend you join if you haven't, because
you really should.
There's weird news every day there.
Plus some great memes, just some quality weird memes you guys are missing out. You don't even know.
Okay, so try to wrap your head around this one. Someone has come up with this completely logical theory that says that Joe Biden is actually in a facsimile White House. So here's what the theory says. Tyler Perry, we all remember, we know Tyler Perry, the comedian who stars in the Medea movies. He's got a 300-acre Atlanta estate, and on it sits a 3-story stucco replica of the commander-in-chief's residence, which he originally built as a set piece for a television show. Perry, a Democrat who endorsed Biden and funneled millions of dollars into his campaign, allowed Biden to use the Faw White House as an operating base. Although the replicant White House is built 80% to scale, on television and in images is indistinguishable from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Biden and Harris have been using that facsimile to feign leadership and impose despotic rule on the nation. It is from there that Biden's criminal press secretary, Jen Psaki, delivers daily press briefings, and Biden hosts foreign dignitaries. Alas, the whole of the mainstream media, including Fox News, abides this fiction perpetrated on the American public. So.
Okay. First of all, I I kind of like our current press secretary. If she is a
Yeah.
criminal, I hope that she's doing something interesting, like
She
ripping the
she's
mattress back
guilty.
off.
She's guilty of the crime of just burning the shit out of people who try to give her lip at press conferences.
Yeah, she's guilty of that and having pretty great hair. And like, that's all I'm aware of. I don't know what she does in her spare time. Maybe it's something heinous. I don't really know. Secondly, it wasn't just that too. I mean, like, that's obviously the most fantastic part of the story, that Biden and Harris are existing in a 3/4 size White House on the estate of Tyler Perry. Interesting. That's interesting. You know what I picture, T? I picture little 3/4 size beds with little
Right.
3/4 size pillows, and they eat on little 3/4 size plates.
Yeah, or like Gandalf when he walks into a Hobbit home and he has to like duck down because he's gonna hit his head on the ceiling.
Yeah. Okay. That's why Biden couldn't take his dogs, is because they were too big to get into the little bitty boy. Okay. That's hilarious. Obviously, that's hilarious. But what they also said was that Biden had been ejected from the White House when he tried to take the White House on Inauguration Day,
Yeah.
and that like security forces had forced him out of the White House, as though that was something that would not have made it to the news, as though that was something we would have missed
Every
entirely.
every news station, and it's not like, everyone has a camera or a video recorder on their phone. So
Right. You can't keep secrets in the world anymore. That's not real
right.
life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that obviously never happened. What's very disturbing about it is not just that somebody believes this, but that many somebodies believe it, because it's making the rounds. It's
Yeah.
like on all of the QAnon bullshit and blah, 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 blah. And let us not forget that QAnon, we talk a lot of shit about QAnon. We do, because they're fucking ridiculous. And like, it's funny. Like, it's funny that they like how do you
Right.
miss the eye? How do you just like drink your coffee with one hand? You get a piece of toast over here, and you're like, oh yeah, totally, 3/4 size White House, Tyler Perry. Like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
But these are scary, dangerous people,
Yeah.
and like, there are people who believe in the QAnon conspiracy that have become elected officials to our government. Marjorie
Yes.
Taylor Greene, or whatever her fucking name is, she
Yeah.
completely buys all that crapola.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually, right before we got on live here, so today there was police officers testifying to Congress about January 6th. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, a real power couple there, decided to have their own press conference outside the Department of Justice, in which they were complaining about how some of these insurrectionists were getting unfair jail sentences or something like that.
Unfair jail sentences. That's fucking treason. Look,
Yeah,
okay. I'm just
but
gonna hold on.
I was absolutely delighted to see that they got run out of town by protesters.
Oh, good. Well, that's good.
Actually, they got run out by a guy who had a whistle and a bunch of people that had signs, and they head for the hills. They were out of there.
Well,
So
okay.
it was very amusing footage.
Here's the thing that's okay. Here's the thing that's super scary about this. And like, yeah, this show does get political sometimes, you guys, because our political discourse has become absurd and otherworldly, and that's what this show is about. So it's not our fault. Politics came to us, okay? What's scary about this, and we were talking about this shortly after it happened, was that if we believed for sure, right? If we believed that the government was being run by like pedophilic reptile aliens that were eating children's adrenochrome or whatever, we would feel like it was not just our right but our obligation, like, to do something about that. Like, the crazy part isn't that they did it, that like they believed it enough to believe that this was something that they had to do. And that's just terrifying to me, because they like, and they committed an act of treason, like super treason. I still don't understand, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about this, because otherwise it's going to become all about this whole thing. What I'm interested in the investigation into the thing that happened is that, as much as we joke, that was obviously a serious deal. And it wasn't just these QAnon people who invaded the White House. When they invaded the White House, the panic buttons were ripped out of certain people's offices. They were ripped out of the wall. They were ripped out of the wall. Protesters didn't do that. The QAnon people didn't do that. The rioters didn't do that. Somebody who was already in the White House did that shit. And that is scary because that's not just some crazy people talking about lizard folks. That's somebody was in the White House trying to get people murdered. And that is
Hmm.
bad. That's bad. Super
Yeah.
bad. But everything
Here's
about QAnon is bad. It's just all bad.
yeah. Here's a comment that we got. It says, "What dignitary doesn't know the White House is located in Atlanta, and Medea is the butler?"
Sure.
So that's a good joke, but like as you were saying, QAnon, there's a lot to laugh about, but it's a really terrible thing, and
It's
it's
awful.
ripped friends and families apart. And so I saw this news article, and it was very upsetting to me, And what happened was one of the survivors of the Parkland shooting, the high school shooting in Parkland, Florida, which killed 17 high school kids. So one of these survivors has been having a problem because his dad is now a QAnon believer, and he believes that he was part of this like elaborate hoax. And so I just can't imagine like how painful it must be to have someone who's supposed to have your back accusing you of doing this
It's
terrible
horrible.
thing.
It's horrible.
Uh,
I read the article and okay, because this happened, was it 2017 that the Parkland shooting happened? 2018.
2018. Yeah.
So this kid's about to turn 18. This happened 3
Mm,
years ago. That means he was 15 years old.
yeah.
15-year-old kid. Was his father not there that day? Didn't have to go to the school and find his shaking kid? Didn't live through that moment and whatever. And I was reading the article and I think the saddest part of it was him saying this kid saying, and he didn't give his real name because he was afraid that the QAnon people would come for him if he did, the
Yeah.
survivor of this shooting. That's fucked up. Was that
Hmm.
his dad said that something along the lines of he should be ashamed of himself. The kid should be ashamed of himself for participating in this hoax and for putting his, because he really believes his 15-year-old kid is like,
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that. Like, what hope do we have for the general population if somebody
Yeah.
who had to have been there that day to pick up their terrified child and been surrounded by other parents grieving, terrified, he was fucking there. He was there. And
Yeah.
this guy still believes that somehow this was a false flag event. Like,
Yeah.
what does he think happened to those kids? I think they said 9 of the kids that tragically lost their lives that day were in this person's class. They were
Yeah.
like, he must have must have met these children. Like, what does he think happened to those fucking kids? They were all whisked away to Bermuda. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, I can't follow the
Um,
logic.
So I'm going to read a quote from this article. This article is from Vice, by the way, and I'm going to include a link to that in the show notes of this podcast episode. Um, but here's what this school shooting survivor says about his dad kind of turning. He says, "It started a couple of months ago into the pandemic with the whole anti lockdown protests." Bill said. Bill is the pseudonym that they're using. His feelings were so strong it turned into facts for him. So if he didn't like having to wear masks, it wouldn't matter what doctors or scientists said. Anything that contradicted his feelings was wrong. So he turned to the internet to find like minded people, which led him to QAnon. And he says that one of the people that influenced his father's ideas was Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who we just mentioned. He saw some videos about her talking about it. And then ever since then, Bill's father has been convinced the shooting his son survived was a so-called false flag event and that the shooter was, quote, a radical commie actor.
Okay.
So,
So, like, that's scary because if this happened 3 years ago, um, the pandemic was only just last year. Lockdown was only just last year. It seems like sometimes it seems like it was really a long time ago, and sometimes it seems like it just happened. So up until that point, he didn't believe that. Up until that point, he was a regular person who believed that, and then the lockdown happened, and he didn't want to be forced to wear a mask. Like, the drama of the world being flipped upside down, like, and being radically changed for a certain group of people, I think it snapped like a whole segment
Yeah.
of our population. I think it really put them over the edge.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't deal with it at all. I couldn't
Yeah.
deal with it.
Yeah. And I mean, this is, of course, not the only example. I've read quite a few articles over the last 4 years for sure, but it's increased in frequency over the last year or two,
Yeah.
where spouses are leaving their spouse because they fell into some crazy conspiracy rabbit hole, like sons and daughters not talking to their parents, best friends splitting up. It's become
Yeah.
a very divisive, terrible thing where people can't, because you can't really argue with a person like that once they descend past a certain level of this conspiracy thinking.
Right. Right.
They're
But
just
like
they're
you and I
just going to
talk.
be super pissed at you for not like seeing things their way.
Right. And but
So
like we have to attack the larger, because you can't logic somebody out of a hole that fucking deep. Like, it's not possible. And you and I
yeah,
talk about this a lot because you and I are the kind of people who like hang out with people who believe that they were abducted by aliens and now they're the
right,
secrets of time travel and shit.
yeah,
The truth of the matter is that, like, it's not unreasonable to be highly dubious of the things that we've been told the world is like, because we know that the world has proved, like, that the people who've been writing the narrative and telling us how things are have been proven to have been telling us complete fabrications about some very important things. All of history is riddled with revisionism, and like, as Americans, we 100% believed all the stories that they told us. And as we started to learn more about things like I remember when The Watchmen came out and they were talking about the Tulsa massacre. Remember that
hmm
shit?
yeah,
That's real life. That's a real thing that really happened. Like, a bunch of people went and just wiped out a whole neighborhood full of black folk, bombed the shit out of them with airplanes and shit. Nobody knew that that had happened because they didn't teach us that in school. That was just a
right,
thing that kind of got swept under the rug. And if you had heard somebody tell you that at a bar or something, you wouldn't have believed them. So now that things like that happen more and more, and the world proves to more and more be not what we were told it was, people want surety. They want to think that they've got it figured out. They want to think that they're one step ahead of the people who are peddling the bullshit, but they just become tools of the bullshit machine when they do that. It's a weird place to, like, I sympathize for these motherfuckers. I do. I sympathize for their mad asses. I don't think that what they're doing is okay. I wish they recognized how dangerous it was for themselves and other people to believe shit like that. But like, I get why they're doing it. Like, I understand where their brains probably snapped. I
yeah.
just I don't understand.
Yeah, a lot of conspiracy believers, it comes out of fear and anger at
Yeah.
the state of things, and that 1-2 punch of having a pandemic and having a president who is aggressively promoting conspiracy theories
Right.
was really
Right.
what turned what is a not common problem into like this tidal wave of people being, trying to find answers and coming up with stuff that sounded right to them about the pandemic and about civil unrest. There was a lot of conspiracies about,
Yep.
the protests and stuff like that. And then the election, of course, the election fraud stuff. So it's just like this incredible brew of like fear and anger and misinformation and
Yeah.
a very divided country culturally.
Yeah.
So
Hey, didn't
it's
they
just
didn't the, I don't know, the My Pillow guy or some goddamn thing, didn't he give us another date, a new date at
yeah.
which Trump is
Oh
supposed to
shit.
be reinstated? It's like,
Yes. The the same day that delicious brew is being made, Friday the 13th, August 13th. So
Sure.
we'll need to go to Fakelandia, get one of those fresh brews, and then we can sit there and watch Trump
I love
retake
it.
the White House on the 13th.
I think it's a great idea. We should talk to Nate about throwing a little party over it. I think
A
that's
welcome back Trump party. Yeah.
welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is a great idea. I love it so much. Yep, we can play Welcome Back Cotter and
Right.
C-SPAN and drink beers and
Yeah.
just see what happens.
And then we can watch
Fantastic.
the new movie. Medea helps out the deep state.
Fucking Christ. Fucking Christ. Oh, unrelated to anything weird or bizarre, because like whatever, we can talk about whatever we feel like. I saw today the trailer for the new Ghostbusters movie. Did you see
Yeah,
this?
I
Oh,
did.
I'm freaking out, man. I'm so into it. If you guys haven't seen it yet, like check it out. The new movie that's the new Ghostbusters that's coming out. Like Ghostbusters was a campy comedy movie that happened to have scary elements to it, and all of the Ghostbusters movies were like that. That was really one of the first times that a horror comedy was a real thing that had really been done.
Yeah.
But the new version of Ghostbusters, the new one, is supposed to be dark. Like it's a horror movie that happens to be funny as opposed to a comedy that happens to have like scary bits in it. And I am so fucking into it, you guys. Like I'm so ready to see this movie. That's one we should set up a watch party for. I'd be very, very interested in doing that. It's a
It
great
looks really
idea.
good. It looks
Does look
good.
really
I'm
good.
looking forward to it. It's out on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So,
Which I think is right around the same time that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is coming out.
oh, that's a
Which
good
is going to be
one.
super dope as well. I'm very excited about that one. And
Yeah.
there's a couple other movies that Candyman, which was supposed to come out
Yeah.
last summer. You remember that? Which was the
Yeah.
new. I think that was Jordan. Did Jordan Peele do that shit? That was a new Jordan
Yeah.
Peele joint, which is a
Yeah.
remake of one of the most classic horror movies of all time, and it's supposed to be super duper good as well. And I think that one's actually coming out. It might actually be coming out next month, but they
Okay.
postponed it because it was supposed to come out in July. So that'll be fun and interesting and cool. I'm excited
I'm
about that.
I'm looking forward to all that. I
Yeah.
think Suicide Squad is coming out first week of August. I'm
Yep.
gonna go see that in the theater, and that's the first time I've been in the theater in over a year and a half for sure.
That's
So
exciting. That's so exciting.
yeah, I'm very excited to go see a movie in a movie theater because
Oh yeah.
it's been a while, and I love
Yeah.
doing it. You know, so
Yeah, I know. Love the movies. Love them.
yeah,
There was a minute there they were saying that theaters were dead. They were saying that over quarantine. They're like,
yeah,
theaters will never recover from this. They're not coming back. And I was so sad about it. I can't imagine a whole generation of people growing up having never had that moment in a theater where the monster jumps out and everybody yells and popcorn goes flying everywhere.
yeah, right, yeah.
So
I love
beautiful.
it. Yeah. Here we got another comment here we're gonna share. Someone says it's crazy. My neighbor, who's a Trumper, still has a campaign sign in his window and honestly believes his guy won. I can't even have a civil talk with him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how can you? Like, they're completely in denial of facts. So
yeah, of reality.
And there's a lot
reality.
of people like that out there that think that Trump has won. He's coming back August 13th, or he's already in the White House while Joe Biden's on Tyler Perry's property secretly running. I don't know.
Think about what that mentality means, though. At the heart of it, it means that they cannot wrap their head around the idea that there are more people who don't think like them than people that do. They believe that all of America, most of America must be just like them. Otherwise, they wouldn't believe that Donald Trump had won fair and square. And it's just not true. And they cannot deal with it. They cannot deal with it. That's just, wow. Wow. That's unfortunate, you guys. That's unfortunate. Because it's not real. Sorry.
Yeah. Speaking of, here's a character who may or may not be real. I think he's real. And this is going to give me a chance to try out my new banner I made for the live stream of us. This one reads, I'll tell you who it was. The damn Bigfoot.
Oh, damn Bigfoot.
But also this banner is also appropriate for us. This is our classic Wisconsin, Scotland, or Florida banner. This one's from Florida. Our sound person, Andrew, found it.
Yeah, good job, Andrew.
found this story. And so this Jacksonville, Florida, someone spotted Bigfoot and took pictures. And he says that John Doe is what they're calling him. I'm assuming that's a pseudonym. Otherwise, he has a very funny name because his name is a pseudonym. John Doe spotted Bigfoot in the woods at the water's edge and took these amazing photographs of the beast. I don't know that I'd say they're amazing, but they're good. At first, I thought it was a grizzly bear, but once I got a better look at it, I realized it was definitely a Sasquatch.
I mean, the pictures are pretty clear. They're not fuzzy. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you can, like, I don't know. Yeah. That could definitely still be a guy in a suit. It's not like an up close and personal, like 150 billion gigapixel photograph. Right. It's still a photograph of something walking away from the guy in the woods. But I mean, I don't know. It just goes to show you, like, I was listening to, because one of my partners is very into Bigfoot. You know this, and he listens all the time to this podcast, this Bigfoot Stories podcast. And we were listening to it the other day and realized that it's like 750 episodes of this show. And every single episode, right? Can you imagine? I'm not ready to have 750 episodes. It's 750 episodes of this podcast. And every single episode is somebody who is telling the story of the time that they had a situation with Bigfoot. And some of these stories are like, I was 10 years old and, like, you know, whatever, I had been drinking paint thinner in the woods for 3 days, but I know what I saw kind of shit. But there's definitely also people who are like, I'm a zoologist. I was in the woods doing zoological shit. And I saw this thing and it was 10 feet away from me and I know what I fucking saw. Like, all the time. It happens all the time. And so when people are like, if there was a Bigfoot, somebody would have seen it by now, or somebody would have taken a picture. I'm like, there's so many pictures of Bigfoot. Like, you just don't know which ones are real and which ones are not real. So you got John Doe here. And by the way, this story was actually being carried by a local radio station. So it's not like, you know, fun Florida weirdness. That would be a lot.
And it also said that the sheriff's department is actually, you know, has been notified about it, and they're looking into it as best as a sheriff's department can, I'm sure.
Also, and they said, and I'm not sure if this was tongue in cheek or if it was legit, but they said that the crew of Finding Bigfoot, or Expedition Bigfoot, which is a show I've seen before, it has its merits and also its not merits, was on the scene looking for this fucking guy. Wouldn't that be something? Like some reality television situation went down there and, like, that's exactly what's gonna happen. It's gonna be one of these people looking for Bigfoot with a camera, and they're like, Bigfoot's hands just gonna come out of the woods and grab one of these people by the face and just lift him up and throw him, and we'll be like, oh.
That would be some good reality show footage.
But even if that happened, people still wouldn't believe it. Like, even if these people were in the woods with a fucking camera and, like, Bigfoot came out of the woods and was like, what's up? I'm like, no one would believe it. No one would believe that. And the more real I find Bigfoot pictures, Bigfoot footage looks, the more likely people are to not believe it and be like, that's fake. So there's like two kinds of Bigfoot, like, evidence. The kind that's obviously like, whatever, this is potato. It looks like it was taken by a potato. It's just a blur. Like, this is, you know, you can see the tag on the guy's costume. There's that kind. And then there's the kind that's like, wow, that's so real looking that it couldn't possibly be real. There's no way that this person was 10 feet
too
away.
Good.
Right, it looks too good. Like, those are the only two kinds that you would have. Like, it would really have to be, I don't even know who would have to be. It's like with all the UFO footage stuff, because we've had, like, high-ranking members of the government come forward in the last several years and be like, yep, definitely there's UFOs. That's a whole... Oh, speaking of which, are they coming out with the rest of that report? Government report? Like, that was supposed to happen, right? When was that?
So what I was told is that what we got was sort of a preliminary report.
Right.
That they at an unknown time are supposed to deliver the actual report. And that members of Congress have received a different report than the public has. So
somebody get Marjorie Taylor Greene on the fucking phone
right.
then. That woman will for sure spell the beans. Oh my God, what?
I am imagining that they share nothing with her at all.
Right.
Like
Right.
not even when they're supposed to meet for Congress.
That's true. Like when Donald Trump was in office, I almost lost faith in the UFO phenomenon altogether because I was like, if this guy was the president and they told him about this shit, there's no way he'd have been able to keep his mouth shut. That would have been all over his Twitter. He'd have been posting
Yeah.
it from the shit can an hour after it happened. Like, there's no way. But I
Well,
don't know. People,
I've read accounts of where they actually, the people who worked for him said that they had to hide certain paperwork from him because they didn't want him to react to it. So
that's
can you
very,
imagine
very
that's your
stupid, right?
job? You just gotta like run by Donald Trump's desk and grab paperwork off of it and then run down the hallway with it.
Dude, hell yeah. I'd get rocket skates and a butterfly net. I'd be all over that shit. I'd be like, Donnie. Nope.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
for you, little buddy. Here's a Big Mac. You sit yourself down. Don't you worry your pretty little head about it. Have
So
fun.
hopefully they reveal this UFO stuff, and
I hope
then
so.
maybe that will pave the way, and they'll release the government Bigfoot report, if there is such a
Wouldn't
thing.
that be amazing? You know what? Bigfoot is one of those things, though. I almost hope that they never confirm it. Because it seems like if Bigfoot's out there and Bigfoot, like, I don't
Yeah,
think that it's possible that Bigfoot's just a big monkey. I think Bigfoot, if Bigfoot's out there, has got to be smarter than that because they
yeah,
clearly have put so much effort into staying the fuck away from us, which just proves how smart they are because we are just not great neighbors, just
yeah. No,
not cool at
if
all.
they did confirm it, you can imagine that every fucking hillbilly is going to be out there with a gun
Yeah,
trying to get a Bigfoot. You know,
yeah,
that'd be
for
awful.
sure. Yeah, and we don't want that. That's probably the least of it. That's there. Who even knows? I think there'll be people who go out into the wilderness and try and start whole communes in the effort to like be one with Bigfoot or whatever. And it's the whole thing would just be so stupid and awful. I hope they never do. I hope they never tell us. I don't want to know about Bigfoot's secrets. Bigfoot is doing such a good job of just minding Bigfoot's own, and I think we should respect that. I respect it. How I feel.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Here's another interesting character that I saw today. Was the Olympics are going on in Tokyo,
Yeah.
and they did a halftime show. I'm starting to think that maybe I'm kind of a Luddite or I have like robot phobia or something because they have this amazing robot come out and it looks creepy to me. This robot looks creepy,
It does look
and
creepy.
he shoots a 3-pointer, you know, and then he does like kind of slides backwards to the half court line, and then he sinks another shot at the half court line. But this robot looks like if you programmed it wrong, it would reach over and rip the head off of your body and then
It's
slam dunk
huge.
that.
Yeah. It's huge. It's huge. And okay, first of all, Tokyo is flexing on us so hard. Like that was Tokyo's robot. Like they are you I'm sorry, I can't tell if I'm losing internet. I'm sorry.
Let's
Um
see.
I don't think that robot had anything to do with basketball. I took one look at that robot and I was like, okay, I see you, Japan. So what you're trying to tell us is that you could at any time unleash all these shack bots and just like totally wipe us all off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That robot looked like it could fold you up and bury you in a Fruit Loops box. It was like 6'9" and had these huge hands. No way.
Yeah.
No, thank
Yeah.
you.
These huge, like, creature from the Black Lagoon style hands.
Yeah. It was a lot. One eye, right? Like glowing
Yeah.
eye
Right.
right in the
Right.
middle of
Right.
its head. Like this thing was
Yeah.
not built to play fucking basketball. My Aunt Fanny's rear end.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
It totally looks like they took the Terminator and just like stuck a basketball jersey on it and
Yeah.
wheeled
Yeah.
it out of
It's
their like top secret government lab or something.
yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's a $500 million robot, and they did not. Yes, Shackbot.
That's a shirt. Good shirt.
I'm into it. Um,
Here's
yeah.
Shane too. Shane's asking us if we covered the Galileo project yet.
Did not, Shane.
I'm not sure what the Galileo project is.
I'm
It's
not either. Talk to us. What is it, Shane? Tell us your
yeah.
secrets, Shane. This is what happens when you show up late. Damn it. We'll wait for Shane to get back to us on that. Yeah, no, it was definitely a thing that was built at one point in time for
to
destroying.
to rip people's heads off. Yeah.
Yeah, and dunk them, slam dunk them, shoot them from the 3-point line. Yeah, Jesus Christ, Lord Almighty. What else happened today? It was scary in science. They cloned a ferret. I saw
Oh
that.
yeah, tell me about the story because I didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to read it. So
So the headline was misleading. It said that they brought a ferret back from the dead that had died in 1988.
mhm.
Which is sort of true. The black-footed ferret was on the verge of extinction, and so they sent tissue samples from the last of these animals to this great big. They call it the frozen zoo, which is a little ominous. It's this place where they keep tissue samples of all these endangered animals, and they just have now figured out the science. Even though they cloned Dolly the sheep years ago, they just now have figured out how to clone this particular animal. So they created an embryo with this DNA. They implanted it into a domesticated ferret, and then they have this new ferret called Elizabeth Ann, which is genetically identical to this other ferret that died in 1988, which is very cool. And the article is a lot about, how that gives us a lot of hope for bringing other species back from the brink of destruction, because when a lot of different kinds of an animal die away until there's only one kind left, it makes them very susceptible to diseases and all this other kind of stuff, which is all great. That's all great. That's all science doing science for the love of science, and I appreciate that. They did say one real creepy thing in this article, though, and that was how it was giving them hope for cloning other animals, even animals that needed to have their DNA patched, filled, or otherwise repaired.
Yeah, wasn't this? Yeah, wasn't this like a part of the plot of Jurassic Park, kind of?
Jurassic Park, Planet of the Apes, every other movie that is about why you shouldn't patch and repair shit, you aren't qualified. The same reason you shouldn't climb up on an electrical pole just because you're pretty sure you know how electrical poles work doesn't mean that's something you should go fucking around with. Because that's the thing. We don't know shit about most of science. Like, I was talking the other day, my poor dog had to go to the vet, right? And
Mm.
he had to have a procedure, and this procedure costs like a lot of money. But the big part of the procedure that cost money wasn't the surgeon who was doing the actual surgery stuff. It was the anesthesiologist that they called in to put this dog into a state of like whatever unconsciousness. And the reason is because nobody actually knows how anesthesia works. We know it works. We know kind of how to make it work, but we don't know why it works. We don't know what part of the nervous system we're turning off or how we're turning it off or why it comes back on again. We only know that it works, and that's it. And knowing that about science, when people are like, like, let's just, what's that, a frog? A
Yeah,
dog? Whatever. Like, I'm like,
a frog dog. Yeah.
I'm like, don't. Why? What if you don't? What if you only put animals back into the world that you have all the pieces of? What if that's the rule? It's a very small rule. What if that's what we went with? Only if you have all the pieces. Fair? Yes. Okay, great. They're not careful with it. They're not super careful with it. Also, I thought like cloning people is obviously illegal. That's not a legal thing to do. I don't understand like at what point, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Where's the line?
where's the line? Like, I don't understand where the line is. Like, I'm not against it per se. I know that they figured out how to clone chickens that don't have heads on them. And this
Oh
isn't,
yeah.
they figured out how to
So
clone
weird.
chickens that don't have heads. But the reason that they did that, the reason that they clone chickens that don't have heads, is because, according to what we know about science, any semblance of your personality, your consciousness, your soul, whatever makes you you, lives in your brain. If you don't have a head, you don't have a brain. So you can clone humans with no heads for things like harvesting their organs, you know, just having a backup. So if something happens to your body you're born with, you can just pop the head off and pop it back on the other body, like just screw it on there, no problem, like a light bulb. Which all sounds great in theory, except again, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Because there's also things like cellular memory, which we know is a real life thing, and like all kinds of other shit. That's why it's not legal to do that. So I don't know. I mean, it seems benign enough to just make a ferret. I mean, that seems harmless. I hope it is. I hope it's harmless. I hope it's fine.
Me too. Here, Shane's provided some more information about the Galileo project. Can't say that for some reason. He says a new Harvard-led study to find alien technology, and he also sent us a link so we can check that out on Harvard's website. And he also says, too long didn't read. They wanted to scientifically figure out UAPs. It's unidentified aerial phenomenon. Interstellar objects and potential extraterrestrial satellites. So what we can do is we can read about this and we can talk about this in a future episode. Maybe sounds interesting.
Yeah, whenever we want. We can do a UFO. We can do a UFO special just about what's happening, because I feel like this is going to be a developing story. I mean, there's not been a great big watershed boom gotcha moment,
right?
But it's not like this hasn't been slowly building. I didn't know about the Australian government's report that came out 4 fucking years ago until just recently. Like, more and more information is occurring. So we might have to do some breaking news bits. So you guys keep your eyes open for that. We might break some news. We might put it on the internet.
Absolutely. It's a hot topic this year, I feel like.
It's a hot topic. So in right now.
Right.
UAPs.
UAPs are in.
So hot right now.
Okay. Well, that's good. And that's about our time for this episode. Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening. You can find some of our past episodes at tcrulos.com. And we're going to be back next week.
We sure will.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.